Ducts and pipes are system families in Revit. Their behavior and presentation are defined via ducts and pipe types and duct and pipe system types in Revit. Every duct or pipe system has a system classification. The same system classifications we defined in component families via connectors in the previous chapter. However, depending on the peculiarity of a project, there can be multiple system types under one system classification. For example, what we have here is a 4-pipe fan coil system. The hot and chilled water supply pipes share the same system classification, in this case, hydronic supply. Yet their system types must be different for documentation and communication purposes. In this video, we will configure our project's ducts and pipe types and ducts and pipe system types. So open the file you used in the previous video or duct pipe system types in the chapter 3 exercise files folder. So at this point, launch Revit, navigate to exercise files from the chapter 3 folder, open this file duct pipe system types which I have here open. From the family tree on the project browser, expand ducts, rectangular ducts, double click mitered elbows/tabs to launch the type properties, then click edit to launch the routing preferences where you configure the duct fittings which are loadable families. You can access the duct sizes under mechanical settings from here. Next, click load family, navigate to ducts, fittings, rectangular, bends, then choose miter throat bend slip joint. Repeat the process. This time, go to branches, then select rectangular shoe branch slip joint. Now from the routing preferences, set the following. For the elbow, set it to rectangular miter throat bend slip joint. Leave the preferred junction type to tap. For the junction, set it to rectangular shoe branch slip joint. Then for the transition and multi-shape transition rectangular to round, set both to 60 degree. Leave the multi-shape transition over to round as none. This does not apply to rectangular ducts. Then leave the rest as standard. Then close the dialogues. Next, expand duct systems. Duct system, double click supply air to launch the type properties dialog. Click edit to launch the line graphics dialog. The blue color that you see here insinuates that every element that is a part of the supply air system alone will inherit this color unless overridden by other graphic settings like view filters. We can also assign material to this system, and this aids 3D visualizations. So in this test project that we have here, we've already defined the systems or the materials for the various systems. So if you go to the manage ribbon and open the material browser, you find it there. So to save time, we'll use the transfer project standards to bring that into this project. So we'll click that under the manage ribbon, and then we'll uncheck all the categories here and bring in only materials. So by the time I launch the materials browser here, you see all those materials in this project. So now we'll go back to the supply air system and we can assign that material to this system. You can see supply air. So if you intend to calculate the system properties like flow and pressure drop, you can set all that from the calculations. So you can either choose all or flow only. But for big projects, it's advisable to set this to performance so as to improve your PC performance. So only when you need to calculate these parameters, you can choose one of these, and when you're done, you set it back to performance. Now, as you can see, the system classification here is supply air, and that cannot be changed. But then the system type is also supply air, but you can rename or duplicate it to meet the project's unique requirements. For this project, we only have one supply and return duct system, so we don't need extra ones. Finally, you can also modify the system's rise and drop symbols from here. So with that, we can proceed to the pipe and pipe system. Of course, you can also go to return air and configure what we just done. So now scroll down to pipes, expand pipe types, and double click chilled water to launch the type properties dialog. Next, click edit to launch the routing preferences, where you can configure the pipe fittings, which are also loadable families. So from here, you can access the segment and sizes under mechanical settings. And as you can see, the settings for pipes are more robust than that of ducts. You can define multiple families for different size ranges for each pipe type. So when you click on this, you can add more. But we'll go with the default specified fittings here, the one that come out of box with Revit, just because it's already well detailed. But we'll have to duplicate for the hot water systems. So we'll come here and we'll duplicate this system to hot water. And that's because it's best practice to create different pipe types for different pipe system types, even if the routing preferences are the same. I mean, you might need to change the pipe type for a particular system later in the project, say from carbon steel to PVC pipes. So it will be easier to implement and quantify when you have unique pipe types for your pipe systems. So for now, we'll go with these defaults. Now we'll have this for hot water supply and return, and this for chilled water supply and return. We'll close this and then we'll move to pipe systems. So expand pipe systems, pipe system, then double click hydronic supply to launch the type properties dialog. We'll start by renaming this to chilled water supply. Then we'll click the edit to launch the graphic overrides, and we'll change the color to cyan. Now to create the correct fluid temperature, we'll close this dialog and launch the mechanical settings by typing ms. Then we'll go to pipe setting fluids. We'll make sure that this is water, and now we need to create some new temperature for our hydronic system, which is the chilled water supply and return, hot water supply and return. So for this project, we will set the chilled water supply and return temperature to 7 degrees Celsius and 12 degrees Celsius. For the hot water system, we'll set the supply to 45 degrees Celsius and return to 40 degrees Celsius. So we don't have those temperatures defined here. So we need to quickly create new temperature. So we'll click on new temperature here. Then we'll create the first one, 7 degrees Celsius. For viscosity, we'll set this to 0.00143. Density 999.9. We'll create for 12 degrees Celsius. We'll set the viscosity to 123 and 999.5. For 40 degrees Celsius, we'll set this to 00065 and this to 992.2. Finally, for 45, we'll set this to 00060 and 990.2. So at this point, you can return to the chilled water supply system. So from here, as you can see, the temperature has already changed to 7 degrees Celsius, and this informs the fluid dynamic viscosity and the fluid density. In turn, these also affect the pipe sizing and pressure drop calculations for this particular system. So next, we'll have to create that of the chilled water return. So we'll go to hydronic return and rename this to chilled water return. Then in this case, we will set the graphic override color to light blue. Then we'll set the fluid temperature to 12 degrees Celsius. Now we need to also create for hot water supply and hot water return. So for hot water supply, we'll select chilled water supply and duplicate it. So currently you can see system classification is hydronic supply. By the time we duplicate this, I will call it hot water supply. You can see they share the same system classification. So always make sure to duplicate from the right system type. So this is hydronic supply, hot water supply. Now we need to set our graphic override for this system to red and set our temperature to 45 degrees Celsius. Finally, we need to create for hot water return. So we will select chilled water return and duplicate it to hot water return. Now just confirm that system classification is hydronic return. And now we need to set our graphic override to orange. And then we will set the temperature to 40 degrees Celsius. Now for each of these systems, also make sure to set the material. From here, go to the material browser and choose the corresponding material. So this is hot water return. So we'll come here, we'll pick hot water return. Do the same for all the systems, both the air and water systems. So that's it. We have configured the necessary settings to create the mechanical systems for our projects. So we'll commence creating the physical systems from the following videos.